A 10-minute drive from Glace Bay is the village of Donkin. Even though it hangs on the east coast of North America, far away from the epicenter of the hockey world, this hamlet on a per capita basis has produced its fair share of hockey players, and a couple who have made it to the show. Dave Amadeo, who was a defenseman with the Los Angeles Kings, and Sandy Snow, who played with the Detroit Red Wings, were the two Donkin natives who made it to the NHL.
Right here, Sullivan is really landing the blows on Allison. Allison hasn't even thrown a punch. He's trying vainly to hang on.
Glace Bay's Doug Sullivan, who had an 11-season career in the National Hockey League, scoring 160 regular season goals, knows the challenges of being from a small town and trying to make it to the bigs. He was a long way from home when he was drafted 13th overall by the New York Rangers in the 1979 draft after a successful junior career in Kitchener.
There was a feeling that you were representing Glace Bay, Donkin, Cape Breton. The fact that these guys were my heroes growing up. They were the superstars that I knew, that I would go down to the rink and try to get their hockey stick after a hockey game, and if I did get one, it was on my wall.
One of those heroes was Fred Courtney. Tagged as a speed merchant, Courtney was scouted by the New York Rangers, but preferred his way of life in Donkin. He was a top scorer on the 1956 Cinderella Miners, a team whose legacy still lives on vividly in local hockey history.
We had no license to win according to the league, right, and all the teams. But I remember in the North Side Forum, I'm on the ice for the warm-up, and I look up in the stands, and I see the Glace Bay crowd coming in. And I said to myself, they must think we can win. And so we did. But it was so exciting. At that time, the fans, like I worked in the coal mines then, and everybody talked hockey. Everywhere I went, they knew me. And it was, I tell you, it was an experience I'm glad I had, and I'll never forget.
I remember Freddie Courtney dipsy-doodling, jumping over guys, jumping through guys. I swear he didn't have a sweater on. I thought he had a cape on with Superman on the front of it.
He was almost like a bumblebee. You didn't know where he was on the ice. He was right in front of you. Next thing you know, he's behind you. Next thing you know, he was up the ice.
For those who are unfamiliar with the area's hockey history, Donkin was a farm system for future local junior and senior hockey players who would hone their skills on the ponds.
What Freddie Courtney would do, if he had no one to play with on the ponds of Donkin to play shinny with, he would skate into the wind. It didn't matter how high the wind was, but there was that resistance on his body through skating, and that built up his stamina, his legs, his lung capacity.
In the early years, there was no artificial ice here at all. They had to get out onto the ponds, into the puddles, or wherever there's ice, they skated on it. Well, you take a small space of ice, you're doing an awful lot of starting and stopping and this type of thing. That was key to one of their, I think they had the leg strength. Now that was one of it. And I think the other, of course, was the fact that they walked so much. Someone would walk and go from Donkin to Glace Bay.
Behind me, one of the many ponds here in Donkin, near where Annabelle Ryan's store used to stand. Annabelle Ryan was the mother of Vince Ryan, a local hockey legend. He wasn't your prototypical looking hockey player, but he could put the puck in the net. One of his line mates was Naish Batten, a better than average hockey player himself.
The man that impressed me a lot was Naish Batten. Not taken away from Freddie or Vincey, but every time I looked in the corner, Batten was digging the puck out. All you got to do was give it to Vincey and Courtney, it was in the net. So they were quite a line, them trio.
Vincey was very smart, eh? Now Freddie, the same way. I was older than Freddie, but when the Cinderella team, through the year, I'd go to the hockey game just to see Freddie play. Take the puck around the net, go right through everybody, and then when the playoffs came, it was fantastic.
The line of Fred Courtney, Naish Batten, and Vince Ryan was a powerful line in Cape Breton hockey history. An old-timers hockey tournament in memory of one of those players, Vince Ryan, which locals call the Vincey, is now in its 30th year, injecting millions into the local economy. It is one of the largest tournaments of its kind in the world.
Vincey was a natural goal scorer, and like I said, it was a small way of giving his name out to the public.
Vincey would go to the pit, change his clothes, do his work, and have a shower after hockey. He couldn't wait to get to the rink. So that's dedication. Go there, it's coal dust in your eyes, like you said, sometimes in his ears.
The Donkin family, which produced 3 hard-nosed players, was the Amadio clan. Brothers Dave, who played in the National Hockey League, and minor pro players Leo and Neil, according to most, played the game the way it should be played. Greg Thiel, who played junior and university hockey, was a nephew of the Amadios.
I never had any interest in playing hockey until I got in grade 6. My vice principal one day looked out the window and said, "Hey, tell your mother to get some hockey gear." And I think having the Amadio blood in me was why he selected me to play.
We grew up all around the hockey, and like, it would be odd, like we'd go somewhere when they were home for the summer, go and somebody wanted to stop and get their autograph and stuff, and that didn't register, you know. All they were was your uncle and your father.
Another Donkin native who had a long career as a minor pro was Ed McQueen, who played 17 seasons of minor pro hockey, most in the American Hockey League. Hockey in Donkin was more than just a game for lovers of shinny. It was a huge part of everyday life, talked about at the meal table, at church, at school, or anywhere people would gather.
I made a lot of friends playing hockey on the ponds. I made a few enemies too. Yeah. But we're all friends at the end of the day. It was just great. Exciting, I tell everybody. Without sports like hockey and baseball, my life would have been very boring. So it was very exciting. People at Donkin were very kind and took me under their wing, and it was wonderful.
The demographics and descriptions of every small town and village in Canada has changed since the 50s, and Donkin is no different. But what has not changed is the great memories of a time when Sandy Snow, Fred Courtney, Vince Ryan, the Amadio brothers, Ed McQueen, and Fess and Roddy Anderson were the main characters in a story about the great game of hockey in Donkin.